Good morning. We're back today with another video. Thank you, Jesus, for another day. So today we're building face frames. We installed all the doors, drilled the handles, drawer fronts, everything at the job yesterday. I'll put a clip in here of how it turned out. But today, getting all these Craig jigged right here with this machine, and then putting them together over there. And then letting them dry, let the glue dry, let the little bit of putty dry, and then we'll sand them here in this vertical belt sander. Once we're done with the vertical belt sander, then we'll just simply palm sand them, make sure they're perfect, and then they can get clear coated. So let's get into finishing putting all these face frames together, and then we can go sand. What I'm doing here is Craig jigging all of our pieces together with these. I'm using two different types of fasteners, these 1¼ inch coarse thread and these 1¼ inch fine thread. And along the part that is going next to this ingrain here, I'm using the fine thread because I don't want it to split out. But any of the places that are not, like where the other Craig jig will be, I'm using the coarse thread just because I like the hold better. It doesn't split out on the interior because the ingrain isn't there of the left and the right hand side. And it's just a better hold. We're also using glue, which is holding a lot of it too, but I just want to make sure these are perfect, super strong for the client, and they never crack out. Wood will expand over time or shrink a little bit depending on temperatures and home, so it can, sometimes the seams can show a little bit, but I want to try to make sure that that doesn't happen, so that's why I like using one coarse thread and one fine thread along with a bunch of glue. I'm simply lining these pieces up perfectly for the height, and then I'll use this clamp here to hold the pieces in plane, and then I'll screw in. And that one didn't do exactly what I wanted, so I'll back it out, reset it here. Go back in, and then I'll take my fine thread on the outside right here where this the ingrain is, and it'll still provide a super strong bond, but then it just doesn't crack out right here, and then that's perfect there, that's flush there, flush on top, flush on face, and then there's no issues. This cabinet right here has one drawer box, one door. So you have a top, a middle, and a bottom, and then a left and a right hand side. And inside of this cabinet, we're also doing a pan divider. So the client's able to slide pans in and out. In an upcoming video, we'll build that, but it's basically going to be built like I built the other few that I put on my channel. So it'll be built sort of the same way there. And again, I'm just going to glue both sides here really well. Line up the two pieces, flush on top, flush on face, coarse thread, screw on the inside. I think the clamp isn't set very tight, so let's tighten it. Too tight. There. There we go. Then we'll use our fine thread again on the outside. Nothing cracks out. Good amount of glue squeeze, which when we take it to the vertical belt sander, it'll get all that glue off of the face. These frames are maple, and then they're going to be clear coated. So we can't have any burn marks, any glue marks, anything. They need to be sort of white, just like this, like how the maple is. Clear coating them is decently easy compared to painting or staining. Because these are no stain, it's just clear coat, where if it's stain and then clear coat, or if it's paint, we call it paint. It's not really paint, but just for the sake of it. So clear coating's easy, but you have to make sure the sanding, and on even staining and clear coating or painting, you want the sanding to be perfect as well, but clear coat, it really needs to be perfect because it'll stick out so terribly if it's not. There we go. And I have this little 5-inch spacer right here. The reason why it's 5 inches is our drawer box height is going to be 4 inches tall. I don't know why I picked 4 inches a long time ago to be the height of the drawer box. I think it's because a lot of times cabinets are sent out with 3 or 3.5 inch tall drawer boxes, and I think they're a little small, so I just go 4 inches. But you have to have, for the type of soft close slides we use, they take up about 7/8 of an inch. So you just go an inch over, and then you have plenty of room to install everything. Make sure that's tight, make sure it's squared up correctly, which is fighting. There we go. Clamp everything well. I like this tool right here. I think I've talked about it before, this Milwaukee drill driver. It has these removable heads. I think it comes with 4 of them. But this one's really handy with these Craig jigs or pocket jigs because it gets into that tight corner. You don't have to use a huge long bit, which sometimes isn't great. So I tend that you lose a little bit of force on those. So I can use a shorter bit. It gets in there super well and does what I want it to. Now what we'll do is put that's all together, double check our, 5 inches, 17.5, 30.5, and then these seams don't really need puttied. I'm just going to put a little bit in there. That vertical belt sander will take anything out. I just want these to be perfect for the client. So yeah, that's how that is. I have to put together mostly the uppers, which I think there's about 11. So we'll do that, and then we'll go over to the vertical belt sander, sand everything down, and then palm sand everything just to clean it up one last time, and these will be ready for clear coat. So on this drawer stack right here, it is 3 drawers. The first one is 5 inches, and it'll line up with all the other door and drawer combinations that we have. So it'll be a 4-inch tall box. And then all that we do here on this 3 stack is we split this. So this came out to 9 3/4. This is 9 3/4. So this will be an 8 3/4 tall box. This will be an 8 3/4 tall box. If we were to do a 4 stack with this same, it's a 34.5 tall cabinet, 4-inch tall toe kick. I like the 4-inch tall toe kick because you're able to fit your gun in there, install the toe kick, sink vents fit, everything works out really well. So you take the 4 inches off the 34.5 on the height and you get 30.5. And if it were a 4 stack drawer stack, it would be 5, 6, 6, and 6. But since it's a 3 stack, it's 9 3/4, 9 3/4, and 5. And that works out really well. The other thing that we do, so we did not make this cabinet, but this is just an old cabinet we took out of a house. They put these crossbars right here, which are in the way. So on our cabinets, if they want 2 drawer fronts, we'll split them up that way. But like this is a drawer front right here. Let me pull this out so you can see this better. This happens to be a sink, a lower sink. So have the fake front up there. And if they were to want 2 drawer boxes with drawer fronts, we could do that. We would put a little brace right here in the middle, and you'd have 2 drawer boxes. But this will be 2 doors, and there is no center brace there. So when you open up the doors, you can use the full 33 inches that's right here. You don't have it split with a crossbar. And that's just something we do. Clients love it. And it's just overall better. Now this face frame is a Lazy Susan face frame. So one piece right here, the full width measures 12 inches. This piece, the full width, measures 12 3/4. So that way, when I butt the 2 pieces together, the full width of each side will be 12 3/4, and it'll match up perfectly. And it'll fit into the Lazy Susan really well. I'm going to glue the ends just like a normal face frame here. Then what I'm going to do is tack these so they hold while I'm screwing into them. So I'm going to line this up perfectly. It's kind of a trick here. So you want it flush on face, or on the back, I guess, and on the height, and you want to hold, and you want to make sure you don't shoot your finger. I'm putting a brad nail into here so that way when I screw it in, it doesn't move. There we go. Did not pop out the front, which is super important. There we go. Get a little risky, put a second one in. That way it holds super well. And I'm just ever so slightly angling to the back. So that way, if the nail does pop through, no biggie. There we go. Now, I can screw from my pocket screw jigs into the other face. Everything, in theory, should be correct. That's where this tool comes in handy. It just gets the right angle into that pocket jig, and it just works really well. Go, and then 12 3/4, 12 3/4, 12 3/4, 12 3/4, and then 30 1/2, 30 1/2. Okay, this lazy Susan frame is assembled. Now it can go over there and dry up. The glue can dry. And then we'll get it sanded down. All right, so we have all the face frames put together. They're ready to be sanded in this vertical belt sander right here. I'm going to load up the 80 grit sandpaper first. We'll run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passes with the 80 grit, and then 2 passes with the 150 grit, alternating between front and back. And right now they're 13/16 thick. They'll become 3/4 inch thick face frames, which will work for our 3/4 inch thick Bloom soft close hinges, and those operate really well. Bloom's my favorite brand of slide and hinge. They always work. They're never like defective. They soft close, I think, the best. They open up super easy as well. So that being said, we'll get all of those face frames into this vertical belt sander. We'll sand those all down, and then we'll just finish cleaning them up with the palm sander at 150 grit, and then we can double check our drawer box measurements. Since I just did that with my in my head, the math, I just want to double check everything. And then these will be ready for clear coated. For clear coat, all of the trim needs clear coated, side panels need clear coated, and then tomorrow the CNC will be up and cutting all of the shells for the cabinets for this job. We'll put all of those together, and then we can install the face frames onto the cabinet shells along with the skins, and this job will be pretty much ready to go. I'll measure for all of the doors. We can finish making those, and then we can go install everything. Here I am loading up our face frames into our vertical belt sander. We are using 80 grit sandpaper for the first 5 passes, and I am simply putting them in the machine in an orientation that matches the left and right sides of the face frame to match the grain. I don't care about the horizontal grain. I'm matching the vertical grain because the side panels and the doors will have the same orientation with the vertical grain on the side panels And then just then I switch to a 150 grit. We'll finish off the last 2 passes with that. And then we'll go to the DeWalt sander and sand everything down with 150 grit. We have all this face frame sanded, put together. They all look super good. Double checked all of the measurements. And now I'm going to be using this palm sander right here with 150 grit sandpaper and just cleaning up the edges, making sure everything is perfect, so that way tomorrow when we start clear coating these, we don't have any issues. With the palm sander, I'm using 150 grit, and I want to make sure I go in the same direction as the grain. So on the left and right side, I'm going in a vertical direction, and on the top and the bottom, I'm going in a horizontal direction. With clear coat, it's not as important, but with stain doors, it'd be super important to make sure you match the grain so you're able to get an even and great result. So today we got all the face frames built. They're all sanded down, ready to go for tomorrow. CNC right now is cutting out the cabinet shelves that we'd be putting on or putting together tomorrow. So tomorrow will be another busy day. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.